everybody, and welcome to this episode of the KH-Vids podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the inclusion of Cloud being in Super Smash Bros. So today, you have your not-so-usual host of myself, Calxiyn.
And me, libregkd.
And as our staff guests this week, we have...
Cat.
And this week, we have two member guests, which are...
Heart! Yay!
And Hector. I'm going by Laura Matsuda on the site right now.
All right. So we have a full house this week, which is good, because we have a lot to talk about with the inclusion of Cloud, man. It shocked a lot of people, I think.
Wouldn't exactly say a lot,
well,
but...
a substantial amount.
We're all going to have a lot of screaming to do is the point.
Yes!
There's actually very little information out, but there's going to be a lot about that little information, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk. So, for some Kingdom Hearts news and updates, we have a new Kingdom Hearts 3 and 0.2 screenshots, and we do have a summary from the Premium Theater event, even though we have no trailer, and we're not going to get into that, because I'm pretty sure that could be a topic all by itself. So, it was announced at Nintendo Direct on the 12th, which was a couple of days ago, that Cloud from Final Fantasy VII would be included in Super Smash Bros., and a lot of people kind of freaked out. Understandably so. So the trailer showed his moves, limit breaks, and a new stage based on one of Final Fantasy's areas. You guys know that I have not played a Final Fantasy game, so I don't know too much about it.
My experience about 7 is Advent Children and Kingdom Hearts, so...
yeah, pretty
I know quite a bit. I played part of it, and then I watched walkthrough for the rest of it.
So we're in good hands, because you guys know a lot more than I do. So what were you guys, like, what was your first reaction of it when you saw the announcement? Or were you watching Nintendo Direct? Because I know a lot of people were, and then it kind of just flooded the gaming social media sites.
Yeah, it sort of just flooded the internet.
Basically.
I subscribed to a few different people on YouTube who actually talked about it before I had seen the Direct, so I kind of had it spoiled for me, but I was still screaming when I actually saw it for myself. And I'm just really excited for Square representation in Smash, because I never thought it would happen.
Same here.
Exactly. I like how in the trailer, Cloud was just like, I never thought I'd see the day. And I was just like, yeah, me neither.
You said that, and I was like, same here, buddy.
Exactly.
That's exactly why they scripted it that way.
I bet.
Yeah.
How about you, Hector?
When the trailer broke, I was like watching the Nintendo Direct live with a friend, and as soon as we saw Space, I was like, oh, it's obviously Wolf again. And then I heard the music, and I was like, that doesn't sound like Wolf. And then it took me a second for it to sink in, and when the music started like crescendoing up, I was like, you're freaking kidding me. And then I was like, this isn't real. This is not real life. This is a fan-made thing. Sakurai's trolling us. And then the whole thing broke, and I was just sitting there in awe, and took me a second to process what had happened. My sister came in to talk to me, and I was just sitting there quietly. I was like, yeah. And she was like, what happened? I'm like, don't worry about it. So, yeah, I was pretty... But then after I realized what happened, I was like, wow, Square Enix representation in Smash. It's awesome.
Indeed it is. So how about you, Hart? Where were you when you saw this?
I was just randomly scrolling on YouTube, because I don't watch the Nintendo Directs, because I'm way too lazy for that. And, I saw it on Game Explain, they put on the trailer, I was like, they don't usually put on fake trailers, what is this? And then I watched the trailer, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, this is actually legit. What? What is Cloud doing in here? Square? I mean, I had jokingly been telling my friend Sora for Smash, but I didn't think we would actually get a Square Enix character anytime soon.
I felt like the exact same way, because I had also voted Sora for Smash, even though that I have never played a Smash Bros. Game. Well, I mean, I have, but I don't know, recreationally, I guess. But it was very strange to see, and I know some people on KHV, when somebody posted the trailer, they were like, you know what, that's very well done, because they thought it was fan-made, and they're like, no, it's real. So,
yeah.
Did you see it on the site once everyone was kind of posting those threads, or...
I was actually watching the Direct, and I just wanted to see what Nintendo actually had to show after... I don't even remember when the last Direct was. It's been a while, so I was just curious about what they would show. And in regards to the Cloud stuff, I was I guess I'll say I wasn't really losing my mind about it because I also don't really play Smash that much. I was more just kind of amused by the fact that Cloud was in. I wasn't so like, okay, so I also wasn't that surprised that a Square Enix character got into Smash, because looking at how everything that Nintendo has been adding to Smash Brothers as of this latest entry, they've kind of been getting all the major publishers in Japan in the game. They have Namco, they have Capcom with multiple entries, they have Sega with Sonic. So and even if you go back to Brawl, they had Konami with Snake. So seeing a Square Enix character wasn't that big of a shock to me. It was more just the choice of character that was kind of surprising, because Cloud hasn't had a game on a Nintendo platform. He's been in the spin-offs like Theatrhythm and a few other, the Final Fantasy spin-offs and stuff that has appeared on Nintendo consoles, but he himself, in his own game, or spin-offs of his own game, hasn't actually been on a Nintendo platform.
Exactly.
I was more expecting maybe a Dragon Quest character, because especially considering this announcement came right after the double announcement of Dragon Quest 7 and 8 finally getting localized, which those have been out in Japan for quite a while now. So I was more amused than anything else about the announcement.
I also had that feeling, strangely enough, because I don't know, I guess I kind of looked at it, and then I saw Cloud beating up Mario, and I was just like, I love video games. That was basically kind of what I said, and I think the fan reaction was kind of interesting, too, because I feel like, not theories, but a lot of people have been suggesting why Cloud, and then there are people that are petitioning to remove him, which
and then there's
I
a
thought
petition
was
to remove
weird.
that petition.
That too, and I don't know, I thought that was a very strange thing, and then I saw, somebody replied, I think, to that thread that, oh, it's probably, like, nobody's that stupid, it's probably just, as a joke, but then that person replied, oh, well, there's 3 different ones, I don't know, and I think that was an interesting response. I don't actually know the reasons why they didn't want Cloud in there, though, because I
think it's mostly because it's with the past few things that Nintendo has been including in the roster for their game. Because, I mean, Smash Brothers started off as a kind of celebration of Nintendo stuff. From the very first game to Melee to Brawl to this one, it's always been a focus on, like, hey, here's characters and stuff from Nintendo games or Nintendo-related titles, and we're just going to have them all in a single game like this. And then when you include someone like Cloud, it's like, well, he kind of doesn't fit that mold. You can also kind of make that argument for, like, Pac-Man. Like, I mean, Pac-Man obviously had a few games on Nintendo, but when you think Pac-Man, you don't think, oh yeah, Nintendo. Unlike something like Mega Man, when you think the original Mega Man games, you're like, oh yeah, those were all on Nintendo, so, like, that connection makes sense. Whereas when you think Cloud, you think PlayStation. He was in a game that was originally for the Nintendo 64, but got canceled and moved to the PlayStation and started a legacy of Final Fantasy no longer being on Nintendo systems. So it's just kind of I think it's just a weird choice. But then when you start thinking about all the other stuff that Nintendo has been including, like, as I mentioned, Pac-Man, and even to an extent Ryu from Street Fighter, because even though he's been in games that have been on Nintendo systems, he's also been always a multi-platform type of character. It actually reminds me a lot of, if anybody remembers Sony's, like, PlayStation All-Star thing, when they announced...
People remember that game?
when they announced Big Daddy from the BioShock series would be in the game, it was like, that's kind of a weird inclusion, considering everybody else in that game has roots with PlayStation, and then you just have Big Daddy, and it's like, that's weird, but okay, I guess. So I can see where people are coming from, where, like, they're kind of, this is a weird inclusion, but yeah.
I understand that too. Like, if a game at its core is the Nintendo characters, I feel like the Nintendo fans would be like, well, like, what the f*** is this kind of thing? But I don't know. I feel like there have been videos done about how not just Nintendo fans, but, like, all video game fans aren't really, like, when they get into a series, they're not that, they don't want to be subject to so much change. So I see why some people may be a little bit, like, I wouldn't say angry about it, but maybe uncomfortable with the idea of other things being included, because for, like, nostalgic reasons, I guess they associate Smash with all Nintendo characters, and if they're opening it up, I mean, I think that's great, but again, I haven't been in the game for as long as some of these people have, so maybe my opinion is kind of not as, I don't know, exposed as theirs might be, so...
Yeah, like, I'm not a huge fan, I shouldn't even say not fan, because I just don't own things that I could play Smash on, even though I've played it a couple of times, whenever I visited people who actually own a Wii U and stuff. And I'm like, I personally, for me, the announcement was like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of weird, but that's cool. But as you said, I'm not a huge, I'm not huge into Smash, so I guess what I think about it isn't as meaningful as somebody who's been playing Smash for decades now.
Well, I mean, I haven't been into Smash as long as a bunch of other people. I got into Brawl. Brawl was my first, and I actually got it on the day it released. So I personally feel like the cast is less about just, even more so in recent years, it's become less about, the best Nintendo characters and just trying to be nostalgic and picking characters that are universally loved, or if not universally loved, that are at least adored by a large group of people. Like Cloud covers that base for sure. Sonic covers that base for a lot of people. Snake covered it in Brawl, and we have Ryu doing it now. We just have a lot of like fan favorite characters here, and that I think that's only further proven by the Smash ballot.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I mean, there are obviously going to be people who are upset when the results of the ballot drop, because someone is not going to get the character of their dreams. But the whole point of the ballot is to include more characters that people love and just generally want to see in this sort of legacy franchise, because this franchise is huge. This franchise is ridiculously huge now. I mean, I personally really like the Cloud announcement. I always enjoy when I see new characters drop, but this is this is just a good thing for me, because Cloud was an indirect part of my childhood. So
exactly, and I agree with you. I feel like that now Smash is kind of, it's branching out of just Nintendo, and now it's like, I don't know, kind of something that could be universal for like people that play all different types of games to have their favorite characters in there. I feel like it's kind of unites gamers in a way, and that's what I like about the idea of Smash. And now I feel like if they branch out and get characters from other franchises, that they'll be good in that, and it's definitely better for them because they'll get fans that maybe, I don't know, love Cloud that much that they will buy the game for him. I mean, there are definitely fans out there like that.
Yeah.
Like me. But, I mean, if Sora was in Smash, and we'll talk about that later, definitely would have bought that for sure.
So would anyone here be cool with, like, it's weird to think, because, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, they've kind of included every major Japanese publisher at this point in their game in some way. What if they started going after, like, Western properties, like something from Microsoft, so to speak?
Here's the thing, that would never happen logistically. Microsoft would never give Nintendo the rights to any of their characters. At least I don't think. I
mean, Microsoft has published things on Nintendo platforms even when they had their own console, so it just depends. Because, like, Viva Pinata was on the DS for a bit, and then they also had Rare make stuff for Nintendo platforms despite the fact they owned Rare. Because, I mean, obviously one of the fan favorites, or somebody that people want, would be like Banjo-Kazooie, which that's a Microsoft character.
Yeah.
But what if they got into, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of popular Western stuff, and would there be a line, or would you just be okay with anything? Like, I'm just trying to think of, like, the extreme cases at this point, because, I mean, I agree that it's cool that kind of anything and everything can potentially be in Smash Brothers, but I'm just curious if there's a line anywhere that could be drawn, or if it's just an open free-for-all.
A lot of people say that the line would be drawn at indie titles, and I strongly disagree, because, like, even if you're an indie publisher, you still worked hard on your game. Like, And the fact that most indie publishers develop for Nintendo consoles because Nintendo is so friendly towards indies, like Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight was Nintendo exclusive at first because Nintendo's so cool about indies. A lot of people still think that the fact that they're indie characters and that they're brand new and that they're just a fad in air quotes discredits them from being in Smash. And I don't think so. Like, if you have a really good indie game, I say you've made gaming history and you do definitely deserve to be in Smash, just for the fact that that your game is now an icon. It's revolutionized the indie genre. People want Shantae because Way Forward has been pushing her so much because of her upcoming game, Shantae Half Genie Hero, which was funded really quickly on the Kickstarter. And I'm one of those people that wants her because I've played her games. I've loved Shantae since the first game on the Game Boy Color, who, by the way, it was published by Capcom as well for just the Game Boy Color. But, I think that with Cloud coming in and the fact that he's never been in like a main series Nintendo game of his own, I feel like the lines and barriers that used to be from Smash, beyond the fact that like people want Goku in, like I think that at this point any video game character that originated in a video game has the right to be in Smash, because at this point we're not even just celebrating Nintendo's history, we're just celebrating gaming history. And if you are a video game character and you've made history, be it whether like you're a really good indie title or something, then you have a spot in Smash. That's just my opinion, though.
You guys are gonna make me cry, man. It's so, like, emotional for me, because it's like, I don't know, gaming is a big part of my, like, existence, practically. And so, like, the uniting the gamers kind of thing, and that, like, every video game character should have a spot. I don't know. That's just, it speaks to me on emotional levels, man. But what were you gonna say?
Ezio coming to Smash soon.
That would be interesting.
That would be coul. Papyrus for Smash. Yeah.
Sans for Smash, though. You're gonna have a bad time.
That should be its final.
Hashtag Sora for Smash?
Exactly. And I really want to get to talking about Sora for Smash.
I mean, since we're talking about the barriers of games and who should or shouldn't be limited, this would be a perfect segue.
Yes, it would. So, I mean, I think that with this announcement, I can see it in the Kingdom Hearts tag on, Tumblr, and even on Twitter, that people are like, well, Square is partnering with them for this. I wonder if, people are, I don't think they're getting super, I wouldn't say anxious, but hopeful about maybe the prospect of having Sora in Smash, but it's definitely, now that Square is actually, lending their characters over, that...
But what does Square having to lend their characters have anything to do with Sora? Sora isn't a Square character.
That's right. Sora's a Disney character that was drawn by Tetsuya Nomura and brought to life in Tetsuya Nomura's vision.
Go on a rant.
Because yeah, this kind of brings up what I was talking about, Western properties, because obviously Sora was made in Japan by Tetsuya Nomura and all that stuff, but he is, if you want to get down to technicalities, he is a Western property that Disney owns and controls, and we kind of know how Disney is with their properties.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up as a point, that I think that Square would be willing to do it, but with Disney, I don't know. Disney games have been on Nintendo consoles, like Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2, I guess, if you want to get that, technical. But most of the games...
Mickey 2 on... Because
I think so. I thought it was on the Wii U.
Because I know it's multi-platform,
I think it was on the regular Wii. And
I thought it was one of those games that's, because there's been a few of these where they start off on the Wii and then their sequel just skips out on Nintendo entirely.
I don't know.
I hate that so much.
Because I know Epic Mickey 2 was on at least the 360 and the PS3. I wasn't sure.
I could have sworn it was on the Wii, but I may be wrong. But yeah, I was
sworn there
thinking
was
about
one
it.
for the 3DS.
Oh
It
yeah,
was on the
There was an
PS3,
Epic Mickey for the 3DS.
the Wii, the Xbox
It was for the Wii U.
360,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Wii U, Windows, and PlayStation.
yeah, it was multi-platform. Wow.
Yeah, that was...
Did not think it was.
Yeah, there's just a few that kind of did that, but yeah. So
not only those games, but like smaller Disney games, like there's a Princess and the Frog game that I have that came out on like the DS, and there are a bunch of kind of games like that they're just from, like, you know, from the movie Aladdin, and they have these short little mini-game things, or, like, Princess, you know, collect the jewel kind of games, and they're most, like, I'm pretty sure that all of them are on the DS.
Because, those type of games are kind of, they're more tie-ins for a larger property. So, yeah.
So, I feel like Disney has worked with Nintendo, so it isn't that far-fetched, but I also think that, they don't want their characters fighting each other, and that's why we don't have a Disney Smash thing, but at the same time, I feel like they'd be okay with having Sora, just because, that is kind of what Sora does, is fights.
It's weird, because Dissidia was originally going to be a Kingdom Hearts thing, but Disney didn't want that.
Disney didn't want their characters fighting each other in that kind of violent space.
And even one that literally looks like they're just toys brought to life, and like Pixar brought Toy Story to life or something. I still don't think Disney would be okay with it, because if they skipped out on Dissidia, where there's like the only actual violent part comes from the fact that they all use pointy things and poke each other with them, it would have been significantly less violent with Kingdom Hearts characters. But even with that little amount of violence that it would have had, Disney still didn't want them fighting, and Smash doesn't even look like that violent at a glance. And it's weird, because little to no violence with Kingdom Hearts characters wouldn't make them able to be in Smash, because Disney wants to protect them as something that isn't violent inherently, and Smash just kind of would give it that vibe of, oh, these characters fight all the time, instead of these are characters from a series about friendship.
Yeah.
You have to also consider that when the city was made, that was what, 2009, a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of changed, especially when you consider Disney Infinity, where you have characters fighting other things. Like, they have like Ninja Theory working on the combat engine for the Disney Infinity 3.0. They have obviously the 3.0 is obviously focused on Star Wars, so they have a lot of Star Wars combat stuff. But they also have like Mulan fighting things, or Korra from Tron fighting things.
Too.
Just a bunch of various different things that, they're actually kind of, it's minimal combat. Like, it's not like, well, it depends on the character, actually, because there's a few characters that have full-out combat systems with launchers and combos and all this other stuff, and while others are kind of more simplified. But for Disney and Smash, I think it's less of the thought that, hey, we don't want our characters in this fighting franchise, and more, hey, we don't want our characters to be... We don't want to dilute our brand by associating our characters with all these other characters. They don't want... Let's just throw out Mickey at this point. Like, they don't want Mickey to be associated with something like Mario or Zelda or Ryu or Mega Man or things like that, because that's not the type of association they want with their brand. But obviously I'm just talking about how I feel that they probably feel about it, because I'm not entirely sold that they don't want their characters fighting, given that they actually have a game out there that combines their entire history and having fighting mechanics in it.
That's true. And I was gonna say something similar, and I feel like there's also kind of, I wouldn't say that it didn't happen before because Disney hasn't been that active in the Kingdom Hearts series, but I feel like it hasn't really been, maybe considered to, like, put Sora in, any other thing, not just Smash, but, like, in kind of third-party games that aren't Kingdom Hearts-esque, I guess, just because Disney hasn't been as active as it is, like, currently being now with Kingdom Hearts 3, so I wonder if that'll kind of, not change their minds, but it'll open up different possibilities, almost, just because now they are taking a lot more action in more than just, like, kind of, this is what you guys are gonna do with Mickey, because we don't want him to be misrepresented in Kingdom Hearts, like how, there was copyright issues with, like, Mickey alone, just appearing in the first Kingdom Hearts game, because they were kind of protective, but now I feel like that they're not easing up, but since they're understanding it more, that since they're actually being involved, I feel like they'll start considering this is a good enough time to start another segue into the trailer, which was interesting to say the least. I mean, it had there were a lot of things going on in it, for
lots
sure.
Of smashing.
Yeah, lots of smashing. I think the trailer also showed Cloud's two different outfits side by side, which I thought was a nice
Dissidia outfit
touch.
And the Advent Children outfit. Because contrary to popular belief, OG Final Fantasy VII outfit did not have that glove. That's Dissidia.
Oh.
Here's our Final Fantasy knowledge for the day, since we don't get enough of that on our forum. We should have a Final Fantasy trivia thing, but I digress. Anyway, but yeah, I recognized one of those costumes because I was just like, oh hey, that's Cloud, as he wore it in Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's kind of all I know Cloud for. But yeah. So I don't really know where his moveset. I mean, I'm pretty sure it comes from Final Fantasy, but I don't know what significance they have, if anything, because I mean, I haven't played it. And as well as the summons, I tried to look it up to the best of my ability, but I did not get what I wanted from trying to figure that out. So if anybody that plays Final Fantasy could take over.
The only summon that I really didn't know was the little snake thing that I thought was Shiva for a minute, but no. It was, the summons are, I think, in the order they show up. Odin, obviously. Mm-hmm. The order they show up. Rama, Leviathan, Ifrit, and Bahamut. And it's interesting to see that there are going to be 5 different variations on stage hazards here. Like, I'm just really excited to see Midgar, because Midgar looks so good.
What do the summons do exactly? Because, I mean, I read something, and apparently in all of the stages there are things like that, but I didn't quite understand, so...
On the normal forms of all the stages, there are always little hazards that pop up. Like, the most obvious example that people who've played Smash will understand is Pokemon Stadium. Like, Pokemon Stadium changes the layout of the field every so often. Like, you'll have a power plant themed stage with treadmills on either side and electric Pokemon in the background. You have rock type, you have ice type. I can't think of any of the other ones right now. I think those might be the only ones. So this stage is going to have the same thing, but the hazards will actually do damage because they're full-on summons. So Rama, we see, shoots out 4 directional beams of lightning that spin. Ifrit tilts the stage on its side as it throws fire onto one side of it. Bahamut
Odin Zantetsuken's you in half.
Odin Zantetsuken's anyone in the middle of the stage and also slices the stage in half for a short amount of time. So it's 2 separate platforms instead of 1. Leviathan, I don't think we saw what he does. And
Bahamut does Mega Flare.
Yeah,
and Cloud is seen at the end of his trailer throwing his enemies into the Mega Flare.
Yeah, Bahamut just unleashes a devastating attack on one side of the field, and anyone who's caught in that beam takes so much damage.
It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and I'm really looking forward to playing on it.
That sounds pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I was looking at the when I saw it, it kind of went fast, so I couldn't tell who everyone was. For whatever reason, I thought Knights of the Round was in there as well.
If Knights of the Round was in there, the match would last 30 minutes.
I mean,
it's so fast.
I think that they dropped the ball on that. They should have included Knights of the Round, because that is the most iconic summon from that game.
They would have only been able to include Knights of the Round, because that is a long summon.
You would just...
I mean, yeah, but I mean, obviously it's a long summon in the game, but if you put it in the context of Smash, you just have 13 dudes doing something at once. But I digress.
There was a lot of Final Fantasy VII references sprinkled into Cloud's trailer. Like, we see him lying on the Kalos Pokemon League.
Yeah, with Zelda and the flowers. Yeah.
And Zelda and the Pikmin, like, masquerading as Aerith and the flowers. And, fun fact, Cloud gets seasick, so when we saw him dizzy on the King of Red Lions and the pirate ship stage, it was a reference to him in Final Fantasy saying something about how it's not easy for him to travel on boats. And him stealing Wario's bike was a reference to that scene where he steals a motorcycle in Final Fantasy VII.
See, I love stuff like that. As as someone that appreciates hints in trailers, I think that stuff is cool. So, I mean if I understood it, I would have been, like, losing my
That's like par for the course for Smash trailers, though. They always kind of do those little hints and stuff for whenever they're doing a character trailer and such.
And then there was one last reference. His showdown with Ike, the camera angles and the zooms in on the faces were a perfect like copy of the final battle with Sephiroth, like the final battle where you can only attack Sephiroth with your limit break, and that's how you kill him.
Wow, I didn't even realize all these cool references, and I know Game Explain just put out a video, so I think I need to go watch it.
Yeah, they just put out the trailer itself,
Yeah.
because I rewatched it a couple times.
And then, it was also kind of a joke that Ike has a similar Final Smash to Cloud, but Ike's doesn't even exist in Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn or Path of Radiance. Like, Great Aether is not a thing in Fire Emblem. And a lot of people are upset that Cloud's got a Great Aether, he's just an Ike clone. No, Great Aether doesn't exist in Fire Emblem. You can't have Cloud without Omni Slash. Please sit down and let the real fans do the talking.
Well, that tells me that they didn't do a good job with Ike then. If he has something that isn't really relatable to Fire Emblem.
I mean, his Smash
Ike
isn't
doesn't have
bad
much
though.
going for him in Fire Emblem. He really doesn't have anything. What would you have rather? The only other
I
thing
don't
they
play
could have
Fire
done
Emblem.
was-
Like I forgot which one I played, but I didn't really enjoy it, so I never.
Well,
got
like the only other thing they could have done would have been another critical hit, and I mean, we've got Robin. No, not Robin. We've got
Lucina,
we've got
Marth, and
Roy
Roy.
doing a critical hit. Roy's is the best one because it's so cool looking, but that would have been the other thing that they would have done for Ike. So I think since it was him and Marth, they wanted to do two different things, and Ike's just kind of seemed to stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. I was kind of being facetious when I was saying that, because obviously when you're transferring a character from one genre to another and stuff like that, there are some creative liberties you have to take with certain characters or certain moves or just things that you kind of have to keep in mind.
Yeah, people were so mad that Ryu had two Final Smashes, and I'm like, play Street Fighter 4. He's got the Shinku Hadoken as his super combo, and the Metsu Shoryuken as his ultra combo, and it's called the Shin Shoryuken in this one, I think, just for the sake of easing the voice acting. But you play the game, they took creative liberties and translated Ryu very well. So obviously, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with Cloud and his little limit breaker special, where he apparently copies Shulk's Monado arts and makes his attacks go better.
Yeah, I was wondering about how the limit was going to function, whether it was like a Little Mac KO punch, build it up as you take damage type thing, or whether someone was saying that it could be like a gradual thing that you have to charge, kind of like Samus's beams, and then once it's fully charged, it looks like you can only power up one attack though when it's fully charged, which is good because otherwise that would be really overpowered. But I mean, it was interesting to see the differences between all of the different attacks when they're powered up at limit break. So.
Oh yeah, like how his up special seems to go higher.
It goes further, yeah.
Also, that's another thing on the subject of Cloud and everything. A lot of people say he looks exactly like Shulk and Ike, and I'm like, I agree, but come on, you've got three big dudes swinging around huge swords. Cloud and Shulk are just really faithful to their games, so even if they do function similarly, it's not a big deal. I mean, they've made over 54 characters at this point. There are gonna be some similarities, especially when you have two huge JRPGs where Shulk has his Monado arts to up his stats and Cloud has his limit breaker ability that makes his attack stronger and all that stuff. So people just need to chill out about that. Yes,
people need to chill out in general.
The thing is that Smash fans tend to be really adamant about, oh no, these are clones. Why do they even make these stupid characters? And as someone who...
I mean, that's kind of true in any fighting game, though. People don't like clones generally. I know that's a big thing in Tekken, where there's quite a few clones of certain characters, and same thing with Street Fighter to a certain extent.
Oh, there are so many Shotos in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
The thing is that Smash has been pretty good for the most part about at least having differences between their quote-unquote clones.
And then you have Lucina and Dark Pit.
I mean, at least with Lucina and Marth, you have the difference of where on the sword it does the most damage, and that at least that way you have to change your technical playstyle a little bit. With Pit and Dark Pit, the only real difference is at what percentage they KO, and it's only by 2 or 3 percentage points.
Yeah, and the thing is with Lucina and Marth, they're dropping the ball so badly. Every time Marth gets a nerf, Lucina gets that same nerf or that same buff. It's they're not even trying to differentiate them at all. So I can see where Smash fans come from when they look at Cloud's trailer, and obviously his jab attack looks a lot like Shulk. So he's got the like 2 sword swings and then the one upward sword swing that launches. Shulk has his 2 punches and then his upward sword swing that launches. And then like it's just really hard to make a fighting game where everyone is 100% unique. So I'm really glad that they've been able to do so much unique stuff with all the Smash characters, because yes, you've got similar characters like how similar
Like
Roy
Ness and
Marshall-
Lucas, for example.
and yeah, like Ness and Lucas, they're really different when you actually play as them. Lucas focuses on sweet spots. Ness doesn't as much, but Ness and Lucas are overall seen as competitively even, I guess. But
it's just inevitable that there's going to be similar characters. Like, what can you do? There's a ton of characters.
yeah, there's like 56.
Yeah.
And if you want the characters to come out faster, it's easier for them to reference things that they've already programmed and done. And I mean, at least with Cloud, he looks far more different from like Ike and Shulk than Lucina and Marth.
Yeah, and the thing is, Lucina's only a separate character because Sakurai was like, well, I guess I don't want fanboys screaming at me about how their waifu doesn't have her own slot. So
Yeah.
And plus with Dark Pit, I can understand it too, because he was like, well, Dark Pit doesn't ever use the 3 sacred treasures in Kid Icarus Uprising. It'd be really weird to have him using them. So he was like, this is like, oh gosh, we've got like 3 weeks until release date. Time to not sleep and not eat and just change a couple things on these characters. You see, the Dark Pit staff is another thing on the subject of clones. Like, they say that it's exactly the same as Zelda and Sheik's Final Smash. It is, but that's how the staff functions in the game. So, and that's Sakurai's own game series too. So of course he's going to take some liberties with that stuff. So there's such an uproar. That's another thing why people have that petition to remove Cloud, because he shares so much framework with the other characters, but at the same time they haven't played him yet, so they can't understand why he's different, why he's got these moves. And a lot of the people that are mad are like 12-year-old kids that started playing Smash this year, don't even know what Final Fantasy is. Like, on this Facebook group that I'm in Smash with, a lot of kids were upset. They were like commenting on everything. They're like, who even is Cloud? Why didn't we get Wolf from like Brawl or something? And I'm like, do these kids really not know? And then it dawned on me, wow, Cloud really is a gaming icon because he's from the 90s, and there's all these people that don't even know him. Yeah.
Children, no thanks.
I sympathize with, like, the kids thing. Just, I don't know, because I feel like I mean, obviously I know Cloud because of Kingdom Hearts, but I feel like I wouldn't if I didn't play, so I don't know. I feel like I'm younger than a good majority of you. I mean, just people on KHV in general, and then you guys, so I understand with both sides, and I don't think that having characters that have a similar attacks or even playstyle is all that bad, and I think that's just, I don't know, for me, I find some characters more aesthetically pleasing than other characters, and I'll usually pick those ones even if I can't play them well. So, I don't know, if I had to pick 2 characters and one of them, I don't know, looked nicer, if they had a similar kind of moves, I wouldn't feel like so bad about myself while I was playing, but I haven't played Smash, so I don't know how much my opinion is worth, but that's just me to say that it's not like the end of the world, definitely, for the reasons that you guys have already said, but I'm just like, I kind of have the idea of, well, if this character, you know, if they kind of look prettier and they have similar moves, I'll play them instead of the other one, and I don't know, that may be useful to some people, and maybe not, I don't know, but that would be my kind of idea about it, so yeah.
It's hard to understand some people, honestly.
It really is.
Yeah,
things
but
change.
I feel like that's gonna be a problem in every game fandom. I mean, again, I think I talked about this, that I have not been impressed with how some of the Kingdom Hearts fans have been acting about the lack of trailer, and I find that it's most of the younger ones, the ones that haven't been with the series the longest, and then there are some older ones too.
Yeah.
Exactly. They just, I feel like they don't, not that they don't understand, but they haven't been in it as long, so they're impatient. Yeah.
Yeah, they expect things right away, like, oh, this trailer is in Japan, why aren't we getting it the moment it's airing in this theater? And it's just kind of ridiculous how that works, because you know how you have to wait like 2 years for a movie trailer to drop, it's the same way with games.
Exactly.
You have to wait for them to finish what they're making before they can even give you a sneak preview of it. Because if they give you an unfinished preview, you're going to call it a piece of garbage. And if they don't give it to you on time, you're going to bash them for holding out on you. But they're working their hardest to make a great game, and it's tough.
Exactly, and I feel like it go again, especially with, I guess, Kingdom Hearts, because, you know, we do need to talk about Kingdom Hearts a little on the KH-V podcast, but it just, I feel like that with the younger fans, it's so easy to be introduced to the Kingdom Hearts series at a time when I was introduced and just have, like, all of the games at your fingertips, because I think by the time I really started to get into it, like 358 was already out, and then you have, you know, Recoded, Rechain 2, then 3D, and then 358 over 2, and then they just kind of came out really fast, I guess, in my eyes, because I was busy playing those ones, and so I think that the younger fans are so used to just being able to go to the store and pick up the next Kingdom Hearts game, that now this is kind of almost a shock to them that they're not getting. And I also feel like because they haven't been following how the game has developed as long, and they may not be as into watching games, I don't know, happen, that they're not, I mean, this is pretty normal for other games as well, that the trailers do not drop, you know, quickly, or, like, even, I wouldn't say all the time, but for some things, right? So...
I'm, like, I like, in regards to this entire, since we're talking about the trailer thing with Disney and all that other stuff, it's a weird thing, because I don't think there's anything to gain from showing trailers in private. There's there's absolutely no gain to that whatsoever, especially when you have so many people who are actually abandoning that thing. Because, I mean, it used to be a thing with Square. They always have these mega theaters where people would go in and then they'd watch a trailer in this mega theater with then, you know, no cameras or no video recorders or anything were allowed. And they, as well as pretty much every other company, has kind of been moving away from those type of trailer reveals. So I can understand the frustration with that, because it's Disney using an outdated concept with how to market their game, that it's like I can't even really think of a proper reason behind it, because there's nothing that really makes that much sense to allow a fully made trailer to kind of be unseen by most people.
Yeah, like, to me too, it just doesn't make sense. All you're doing is alienating most of your fan base. It's like, why would you actually want to do that?
Because, like, I know people paid for that event, but there are other things that happened during that event.
Exactly.
That makes, like,
makes it worth it.
Makes it worth it. Like, there was a
the
performance. Yeah, there was a performance by Yoko Shinomura. There was a Q&A with Tetsuya Nomura. And the last time they did this with Kingdom Hearts 3 was the 2.5 launch event, which was actually kind of the same thing, where we had a music performance by Yoko Shinomura and a Q&A from Tetsuya Nomura. And in that particular case, I can understand why they didn't show that footage, because that it was really rough. Like, I said this on the podcast last year when they showed it, but I was at that launch event thing and I saw that little Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer thing that they showed, and it was really rough. Like, there wasn't even backgrounds. It was just things on a plain white backgrounds and idle animations, and it was like, on that level, I can understand why they wouldn't want to show, like, a work in progress like that. But according to everything we've heard about this latest trailer from Japan, it was just a trailer. There wasn't, like, a work in progress trailer. It was like, hey, here's a trailer with stuff happening in it, and something that you would expect to see at, like, a TGS or
they
E3
expanded
or something
on
like
the
that.
Eric and Xehanort conversation, apparently, is what I read.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
could
didn't
it be a
actually-
Disney thing too? Because from what I understand, the Disney movie trailers from their D3 weren't released.
Yeah,
The
no,
ones that they did have.
I fully believe it's a Disney thing where they want to keep things in D23 and all that other stuff. But I still don't entirely agree with keeping a well-produced trailer a private event.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't actually know that the 2.5 remix trailer that you guys got was so rough. I didn't actually hear that. So I kind of feel bad about us not getting it.
Like, I mean, the most well-done thing in that trailer was that Sora was, like, walking around the room where Xehanort and Ericus are talking. That was the most well-done thing, and it was just literally Sora walking and not doing anything else, while the other stuff was like even the Keyblade transformation animations. It was Sora and a Keyblade transforming, but it was just a white background with like nothing else going on. That type of stuff is like, okay, I can sort of understand why they would not want to show that.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually, like a more fleshed out version of that was eventually released at E3, where they actually had, you know, the Heartless that they showed. They're like, okay, here they are in Tangled or Olympus or wherever, and here's a Keyblade animation that they showed and all this other stuff. But just going, as I said, just going from the descriptions we got from the latest trailer, it doesn't sound like that. It sounded like an actual trailer that they would theoretically just put out and have people watch.
Yeah, we've gotten way off topic, but I feel like this was going to come up eventually. And, I mean, I think we've kind of wrapped things up nicely here, unless anyone had...
talk about the amiibo.
Oh, well...
Oh god, the Cloud amiibo that's coming that I'm gonna get, hopefully.
That I'm gonna get 6 of and sell for like 3 times the price. I'm just kidding. I'm not about that life.
That would
And it'll be
me.
sold exclusively on Amazon.
Oh, don't
Just watch
even
the
tease me
Roy
with
the
that.
Roy amiibo is going to be exclusive to GameStop, and I'm only not mad because I import all my Fire Emblem ones anyway. I feel like the whole situation now is that since people do expect things to come out right away, everybody was expecting Cloud to come out right after the Nintendo Direct. No lie, I was kind of expecting it because of the way they did it with Ryu and Roy. But like, and then like people expected, oh, now that these characters are out, their amiibo are coming soon. No, amiibo take time to code and develop, dude. NFC stuff is
Let alone
really
actually making the figures and making enough of them to just barely not meet the demand.
We don't even know when Cloud is actually getting released in Smash either, do we?
They're rumoring that sometime like in December, or that they're rumoring that there are 2 other characters going to be announced in the December special event that they're going to have for Smash that they're going to release alongside Cloud, so that they can pull a Roy, Ryu, and Lucas thing.
But like, I mean, that probably plays into part of it where we don't even know when Cloud's going to get released, and once if that rumor of like 2 other characters showing up, and once those 2 other characters show up, and they can, as you mentioned, like just have a trio of amiibo for those 3 characters. Just
As to quote one of my favorite YouTubers on the subject of Cloud's release date, I need a release date. I need it now. That's what he said.
I mean, that's also me emotionally right now.
Exactly.
But like,
with Kingdom Hearts 3.
The thing with the amiibo is that maybe if they opened pre-orders when they announced the amiibo, they would have an idea of how many they'd have to make.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm pretty sure that the Twilight Princess amiibo hasn't even been fully finished yet at all. They just have like one promotional thing that they've been showing off, and they opened pre-orders right after the Direct. So I'm fairly sure that now Nintendo's going to have an idea. This is how many pre-order special edition Twilight Princess HDs we need. So here's how many amiibo we need to make, plus these that are going to go on sale like separately or something.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe doing that for the Cloud amiibo is going to help a lot, because Cloud's a popular character anyway. You've got Final Fantasy VII fans that don't even care about Nintendo at all that are going to want that amiibo.
They're going to want it, exactly.
Cloud. I have a friend, she doesn't even like Smash. She's like, oh, Smash is okay, Nintendo is okay. And she saw that Cloud was in Smash. She's like, maybe I'll play it, but I'm more interested in his little figure. And I'm like, well, yeah, there you go.
And I mean, I haven't played Final Fantasy or I mean, I'm kind of interested in playing now that he is in there, but I'm just like, I want a nice little Cloud figure for my desk, because, you know, he's aight from what I have seen from him, and I think, I don't know, it's just a cool thing to have, and I feel like that's a lot of people's opinions, but yeah, a pre-order thing, they should definitely just, you know, use that as a way to gauge how many they do need, because I feel like they'll either make too many, but there are never too many Clouds, or they'll make too little.
With Amiibo, there's never going to be too many, because it took me so long to find Martha and Lucina and Robin. Like, as soon as pre-orders went up on Amazon, I was there. I was all over that. Lucina was gone in 5 seconds. Like,
of course she was.
I refreshed the page and she was gone. With Robin, my coding got messed up, so it was showing the page in basic HTML, and I went back to do it again, and then I was like, wait, no, I should have just kept going, because I couldn't click on the add to cart on the finish transaction button. When I went back to do it, it wasn't there anymore. So when they say that they should make Amiibo pre-orders right after they announce Cloud's Amiibo, I feel like it's going to help prevent that stuff in the future because a lot of people were upset. Amazon had to refund a lot of people whose pre-orders went through, but they never got anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
And same thing with like the Fallout 4 edition of the Pip-Boy edition. GameStop had like so many people they had to refund because they didn't make enough or something.
Yeah, I mean, they did that, but then Bethesda put out, like, okay, we're making more, so they opened up pre-orders again. And
Yeah.
No, despite my not owning a Wii U, that Wolf Link and Midna amiibo looks really good, and I kind of...
It's actually one of the better amiibos. Like, a lot of amiibos suffer from lack of detail, especially Ike's eyes. Ike's eyes are, like, so big.
Yeah, no, Ike's...
I mean, that comes...
on my Ike, it's way too...
Yeah, I mean, in regards to amiibo detail, you probably won't know exactly how much detail is in that amiibo until it's actually in full production.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the one that they showed, it was obviously I almost want to say, like, a floor model or something like that, where it's, like, all the other amiibo that Nintendo showed, they're always been higher quality when they're showing them at trade shows and stuff like that to show them off, and then once you get...
I mean, they have to mass-produce them, so I can't exactly blame them for that.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, some people are sort of disappointed by the drop in quality, which, I mean, that's understandable. When you see something... Then you're like, oh, that looks cool, and then you get it's not as good as what you saw. It was like,
Yeah, the first Norths are the horror story of that.
Like, especially with those big chunks of plastic they're sticking onto amiibo for support. You saw the Link amiibo whenever they announced the amiibo, and he just had like this thin metal rod coming out of his tunic that was holding him onto the base. But then you got the real thing, and it just had this huge chunk of yellow plastic. Like, people were saying, oh yeah, he peed his pants too much. But the amount of detail that they had, that's what I think made so many people so hyped for them. And then they just dropped that quality when they mass-produced them, and people were severely disappointed.
They have a right to be. I mean, I don't own any amiibo because, I don't know, I just don't. And it's like, I understand why everyone's so angry, because why would you not make enough when you know it's going to sell? And why would you make it horrible quality when you know people are going to be angry?
They didn't think Amiibo were going to sell this well, honestly, because they saw all the backlash on the internet. Nintendo's just cashing in on DLC, blah, blah, blah. They saw the backlash, and they didn't think... And since it was just a vocal minority, they assumed that meant that a lot of people weren't going to get Amiibo. I wasn't even going to buy into the Amiibo craze. I just told myself, oh, well, I'm going to get
here.
Link. And now I've got, like, 26 Amiibo sitting at home. Mewtwo came from me this Friday, so...
Yeah, that's my problem, is that I thought they were just trying to cash in on the whole Skylanders type craze and Disney Infinity, but what I've done is I've limited myself to
I mean, they probably are, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing.
No,
it's not, because Amiibo is disc-locked content, but it's not content needed to finish the game.
Yeah,
it's not, and like in Hyrule Warriors, it's not even stuff that you need to complete the game 100%, because they just unlock things you already have most of the time. Most of the time, Amiibo just give you a rupee.
Christmas is coming soon, kids. Don't worry. You guys can, put them on your Christmas list, man, because I'm sure that you will ask and you will receive.
Put the HTML of the Amazon page on your Christmas list so your parents know where to go before they sell out.
Oh, that's me. Like, when I send Christmas lists out, I do the same thing. I put a link.
Them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't remember what I asked for one year, but anytime I ask for Kingdom Hearts stuff, I'm not trusting my dad to go and, like, type in the search engine
and search
with, like, one finger.
And get the right thing.
Exactly.
Like, it'll be a knockoff.
So, like, just an email or a document with, like, this is my Christmas list, here are the links. Go crazy, fam. Yep. That's what you guys need to do.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with my dad one year. I asked for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I wrote it specifically out in like big Sharpie so that they would know, and I asked for Sonic Gems Collection for the PS2. My dad went and picked up the first two things that said Dragon Ball Z and Sonic. He got me the original Budokai, which I've enjoyed, and he got me Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, and I was like underwhelmed, and I don't know if I showed it in my face because he kept asking me if everything was all right, but I was like, no, yeah, I'm having fun. So yeah, that's why I think I just kind of spend my own money now.
Yeah.
My Christmas horror story is I asked for, I can't remember, it was this Mickey Mouse game that they redid, and they put it on the PC, and I don't know what it's called now, but it was this really old game, and they redid it, and so I told my dad, okay, here's something that you can get me for my birthday, and he got, like, I can't remember, it was, like, a really old game system that I know that we have somewhere. It wasn't a Sega... Or maybe it was. I don't know. But it was just, he got me, like, the original game from, like, the 90s, or however long ago it came out, and I was like, Dad, this isn't what I asked for. I'm sorry, but I can't play this because it's not a computer game, and since then, I link everything, so...
I feel like we got severely off topic instead of doing the outro.
I mean, we did, but we're doing a public service to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, this is a PSA. Christmas is coming, link your Christmas list. And I feel like I can twist this into a user-submitted question type thing. Yeah, speaking of which, I think that does wrap it up. So we should get into user-submitted questions.
Yeah, we can do that. Magic or science from Kingdom Hearts 530. Yeah, I know. I was leading up to that.
Magic or science? That's an interesting question. No, I mean, like, because would you rather have science in the world or magic, or, like, one or the other, and then the other one doesn't exist? Or, like, well, you're here, Heart, so is it, like, a choose between which one would, like, rule the universe, or, you know?
No, which one do you like better, I think?
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like science has... Okay, not all science, but most science has, evidence to explain why things happen, but magic is just like, you know, it's magic, and so there isn't really a concrete explanation, and I feel like for me, part of me just needs to know, this is why this happens, this is why gravity exists, because of this, instead of it being, well, it's magic, and that would just bother me in a world where magic would rule everything. So
science advanced enough is no different than magic in some
respects.
That
is very true.
That's true. How would you answer your own question, Heart?
I like magic because magical stuff is magical.
Yeah, that's a... I can't remember what I was gonna say, I'm sorry.
It's a great answer, though.
It is. I mean, that is, like, at its core. It's magic, because it's fucking magic, so...
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like this kind of segues into Christmas, since we're talking about, you know, we were talking about Christmas, how, you know, it's, like, Christmas is magical, man, and one of my questions actually does ask, what is your favorite family tradition? And it doesn't need to be a Christmas tradition, but I feel like since we were talking about Christmas, that it, you know, good job, guys, for getting off topic that much, but yeah.
Getting off of the original topic, but on to another completely relevant topic.
Exactly. So, favorite family traditions, you guys. Do you guys not have one? Because I think that is also interesting that, I don't know, sometimes traditions get so outdated that you can't do them anymore.
Yeah, like, in my family, we just don't really do much anymore. Like, it's because everyone's all growing up. And we used to do a lot because I live with my grandparents, but I'm older, I don't care as much, so we don't do a lot anymore.
I feel like that's an interesting, not debate, but I feel like that's an interesting thing that's been coming up lately, though, is that I am very pro, like, you know, let's make snow globes, guys, but then my little sister is just like, I don't care. I don't want it, like... Not that, like, Christmas is totally destroyed for her or anything, but I feel like she's in that stage where everything is uncool and everything, I don't know if it'll stay uncool, but I feel like it's harder to keep up traditions when, you know, part of your family members aren't interested. I mean, I've been trying to do stuff with my friends because I feel like they're more, you know, into it, and obviously they have more time. So I was just like, hey guys, you know what we should do? We should all write letters to Santa. And they were totally on board with it because the Canadian Post has this thing where you can send letters and actually, like, get letters back. I mean, I feel like it's interesting to start traditions even if they're not with your family, but I feel like friends' traditions like Secret Santa and stuff are more relevant than maybe older family traditions, but they definitely exist, so.
I've tried to do Secret Santa with my friends. Them are all just like, we're too lazy. Let's not do this.
I mean, we kind of had that attitude as well, but then one of my friends is really organized, and so, like, she will drive you insane if you don't send in your list, and I haven't sent mine, and so this kind of reminded me I better go do that. But, I mean, even on KH-V, we have kind of our Christmas, Castle Oblivion is usually in January and everything like that, and I'm pretty sure that last year we did have a Christmas kind of Secret Santa exchange, so...
Yeah, the Secret Santa's been going on
do.
For about 3 years, I believe. And, I mean, as far as traditions go, I'm this is gonna be kind of a cop out, but my family doesn't do much, so my traditions kind of are Castle Oblivion and Secret Santa because I've been doing them every year for a while. So
Oh my
And
goodness!
see, I
how
don't
did
think
I
there's
forget about
anything
the
wrong
Secret
with that.
Santa? How did I forget about that? It's like my favorite thing to do.
And I feel like that's good because families get busy, but communities, they will always have tradition, and I feel like that's, I don't know, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside to an otherwise depressing question. But, yeah. I'm not very artistic. Oh, sorry, Hart.
We do like Secret Llama. And it's like, I always love doing that. It's like, yeah, how did I forget about that? And I always love doing it on KH-Vids too. I still have the picture I got from Hero like a million years ago.
And I feel like that's so good. And I'm sorry for interrupting you so much, but my screen's lagging. Yeah. But I feel like even if we don't have family traditions, I feel like KHV tradition is very strong. And hopefully I'm sure we'll talk about this with community news, but we're going to start probably planning our Christmas stuff very soon since it is almost the middle of November and everything like that. So yeah.
Secret Santa!
One thing I wanted to start was doing Christmas Smash tournaments, but barely anyone on KHV plays, so I'm like reduced to other places, and like nobody cares about me on other places.
If I had a Wii U, I would join you in that, but I'm stuck on 3DS. So
I'm so sorry. You paid $40 for a demo.
I mean, I'm fine with it so long as the Cloud DLC is on both, which it will be. So I'm good.
It will be. I do wonder what they're going to do about the stage hazards though on the 3DS, because I mean, 3DS is the reason we didn't get Ice Climbers. So
yeah.
Rest in peace as chain grabs.
All right. Hopefully this is a better question. What is your earliest memory? So like that you have, I guess, of your, I don't know, childhood.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay.
Please answer questions.
My earliest memory, I was like 3. My mom told me, don't lean over and pick up that toy. You're going to fall. What did I do? Leaned over and picked up that toy. I've got a freaking scar right across my forehead where I fell on the toy.
That is a good life lesson, man. If that has sticked with you so long, I feel like that it is very important. Be careful, Hector.
It hasn't stuck with me because all the time you'll find me like in my bedroom trying to reach over my like bed trying to grab something, and there have been times where I've fallen off the bed doing that. So it didn't stick with me at all. I just don't seem to get.
I mean, it stuck with you in that you still do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you know you shouldn't, but you do, and don't worry because I do like the exact same thing. So. No judgment from here.
How about you, Kat?
My earliest memory, pretty sure I was like 3 at the time. Yeah. And does everyone remember the show Arthur?
Yeah. Yes.
I say, hey.
Yeah. Well, I had one of the books, and it was a huge book. It was like as big as I was at the time, in terms of being tall. And I just remember like going through that. And like in the middle of our living room and just doing 3-year-old things.
Oh, that's really cute.
I also vividly remember playing Pokemon Gold a lot. So.
How about you, Nick?
I don't know how old I was, but an image that is always, it's weird that I remember it, but I was outdoors at I think an adult softball game, and I remember this very vividly because of what it was, but somebody broke their nose. And there was blood everywhere. And that is one of my earliest memories because I can't even remember how old I was during that. I just remember being very small and somebody broke their nose and there was blood everywhere and yeah.
Jeez, man.
That was terrifying.
Very, very cheery response from me compared to Cats. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just the side of it that just kind of stuck with me. But yeah, it was. I don't even know who that person was. It was must have been just
some nameless, faceless person that you've forgotten had broke their nose. How about you, Hart?
I think my first memory, I was probably 3, and I was exploring my preschool for the first time. I don't know why that's my first memory, but it is. It's really weird.
That's interesting, though. I feel like it's so hard to remember the earliest things we remember. And I don't really know why that is. Like, I'm not, well read on stuff like that, but I feel like, memories make us into the people that we are, even if we can't necessarily remember them. So I feel like the first thing that comes into our heads when we think of our earliest is important. For me, though, This is more of a kind of injury story, similar to Hector, but I could not see. I had really bad vision when I was, like, 2 or 3 years old. I can't really remember when this happened, but my parents did not realize how bad my vision was, but I basically ran into a room and ran right into a wall and cracked my head open, and I can still remember that very clearly to this day. And I have had head injuries since, and I don't know, that's like part of being, like, the core of my person is having glasses and then being hit in the head with many questionable objects. And it's so weird because I have been, like, last week, I don't know if you guys know, but I got a concussion because I fell down the stairs and hit my head. But I don't know, stuff like that.
Yikes.
It keeps happening. Just like Hector was just like, yeah, I keep leaning over and possibly hurting myself. But
Doing that right now. I dropped my 3DS.
but yeah, that's a very cheery note. I don't know, maybe you guys will laugh at me running into walls. I still do that sometimes.
Imagining it is actually kind of funny. I'm sorry.
I mean, like, if you guys actually saw how I walk, like, a lot of people make fun of the way I walk, so if you imagine, like, baby Cal walking strangely and then just running into a wall, I feel like that may be something for you guys to remember. Yeah. Or to imagine, rather. So, I think that we're good, because these questions are kind of, bad. I'm not gonna lie. Usually we get better from the magical table-topping machine, but I feel like as we get into the pile, they're becoming more family-oriented because this set, I've explained it a couple of times, but it's to prevent, like, smoking in children, so I feel like they gradually go from, like, broad stuff and then your family being like, so, you know, what do you and your friends do after school? Like, questions like that. Yeah. And I think that's kind of weird and also very interesting because there's that, you know, false sense of security and then your parents are asking really personal questions. But I digress. So, for community news, we did briefly mention that we will be starting up the Secret Santa stuff soon because it is almost December. So we need to get that stuff done. I don't want to plug myself too much because, I don't know, I feel really full of myself every time I do it.
I mean, I can plug you instead if you do.
Go ahead, Kat, actually, because you're going to be joining us on what you are going to be talking about, so go ahead, man.
All right, you guys can expect a new episode of Calxiyn Investigates very soon.
Oh, I need to go watch that.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic that I actually helped come up with. And I think you guys are going to be really surprised by it. Like, I don't think it's something a lot of people will have thought too much about. But
especially with the trailer fiasco.
Especially.
Yeah.
But out of the trailer fiasco came the screenshot that actually sparks the thought process. So you will see that very soon.
Yeah. So be excited. And I got some good feedback from the last episode, so I think we covered community news, so I think we're done. So there are a lot of ways that you guys can participate in the podcast. You can send questions to the podcast, and there are form links below that you can do that with, and you can sign up to be a guest. And now with our new guest picking system, you guys will have access to a special section, and we'll post in there saying, you know, here's the episode, here's the topic, who's free for this day with this time, stuff like that, so you guys can just check it out in there. And you can also comment on the podcast thread, so, you know, we know your thoughts on the topic at hand. So I think that is just about concludes this episode of the KH-Vids podcast, and I hope that you guys